Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Bengal Tiger Podcast. I'm Matthew Bruni, and joining me once again for this Mailbag Podcast is Shay Dixon. Shay, how are you today?
I'm doing well. Matty B. Ready to dive into it.
Yeah, Mailbag Pod feels like it's been a while since we've done one
It's
of
been a
these, but
minute.
these are always good for the off-season content to let people get their questions and speak their minds. And we have uh, 22 submissions. I counted, so 22
All
of
right.
them. And yeah, some people asked a couple questions, so we got plenty to talk about on this mailbag. It looks like so
We
we
can
can
we
dive
can
right in.
speed round it. This will be our but we always say it, but we will. This will be our best speed round ever.
We can do it. We give them something to for the weekend to listen to.
You ready to get
I'm ready when
rocking?
you are, though. Let's do it.
All right, Grape Swisha leads us off. What it do, boys? Let me hear your breakout freshman of the year. What it do, Grape Swisha? Stipulation cannot be a top 100 player. I want 2023's Mason Taylor. He's riding Kyle Parker, wide receiver, early enrollee. I'm going to be, and I'll call out our own on three rankings here. The only, we had him in the 140s, the only uh, rankings company, industry, or across the industry that did not have this player in the top 100. I'm going Javian Toviano. I think he could have a big season. I think they need some safety help. I think he can play there. I could see some injuries happening at safety for a game or two where he needs to be put into the mix. He could potentially be in the mix at nickel, even corner. So while Toviano was top 100 with other people, he was a top 10 safety on three, but not in the top 100. So I'm going Toviano.
Okay, this is really challenging for me. So I'll just say the names now. I got either Kaleb Jackson, my guy Jackson McGohan, but then also Whit Weeks are all outside the top 100. And I can see all three of them playing. I can see Whit Weeks helping, but I think they're set at linebacker. So I'll just go Kaleb Jackson. I
Yeah,
think
I like
that's a
that more than
pretty
McGohan. I think McGohan takes some time.
yeah. I think McGohan will take some time as well. I think all the tight ends will take a little bit of time, but it just feels like they're. We'll see when he can get on the field. But Kaleb Jackson, ranked the number 12 player, 12 running back, sorry, in the country out of Liberty High School over here. Had an injury his senior year, getting back, posting incredible track times. I think he's going to be one that even if they're able to get a transfer portal running back, there's an opportunity for him to get to be the third on the team in yards this year, which would be crazy. But I think there's an avenue to where that could happen.
Yeah, he's a great one cut back. He ran a 10.6 in the state championships this past weekend at 220 pounds coming off an injury. So real deal. Brings some
Yeah.
speed element to that room. I actually like that choice a lot. So Jackson and Toviano, I like them both. Two good choices. Plaque Cat out of Plaquemine. This is for you, Matty B. The women's basketball team, are they finished adding to next year's roster?
I don't think they are. I don't think they are. I'm working on locking things down there to see,
But
but
that would mean another transfer, right?
yes,
Okay.
yeah, another transfer. I could see them trying to shore up. There's two. If people want to nitpick this team because the team's already stacked, but if people want to nitpick this team, there's two ways you can nitpick it. It's either you want another shooter or you want a five that can kind of lock down and replace LaDasia Williams because they didn't replace LaDasia Williams. Anissa Morrow is a 6'1" forward. Aaliyah Del Rosario is 6'5", but she's gonna be a freshman. She looks like she needs a little bit of time. And Samaya Smith, as much as I really like Samaya Smith, still young, 6'3", not the strongest yet. So that's one area where I think they could add another player, but we'll see. I'll stay tuned to the Bengal Tiger, and we'll get you caught up on that.
I'm a big Samaya Smith fan. She's my new
Love
Eric
her.
Gaines. I've said it before. And came up in some clutch moments for him, especially in the
Yes.
tournament when folks got in foul trouble. Zud the Hud. I've seen preseason rankings. One of them had LSU at number 2. Where does a Bengal Tiger think LSU should be ranked? Is the national hype justified? I think anything in the top 10 would be considered hype. So I think that's justified, no doubt. They return arguably the top quarterback in the SEC, tons of receivers, offensive line that's played plenty. They're good on the D line with depth now. There's questions, but everyone has questions at different positions. I would say that anywhere for me from 5 to 7 would make sense.
Yeah, you're I mean, to me, it's splitting hairs
It is.
after Georgia. Like, really, it is because I've seen LSU as low. I mean, like you said, 7. I've seen them as high as like 2, 3, 4. Um, it's Ohio State, it's Florida State. Florida State and LSU are some people have them flipped. Some people have Florida State higher, some people have LSU higher. I can see it both ways. USC is obviously going to be a very good team. Alabama, we'll see. Where would I have them ranked? Personally, which I think this will probably be the best bit. I think they're better than Alabama right now. Just looking through Alabama's roster, looking through watching their spring game a bit, I just feel like LSU is what they are more, and Alabama clearly has the defensive potential to be really, really, really good. In the back end, Dallas Turner up front, like I think Alabama's defense can be elite, but I think LSU's defense is right there with them. And then to me, the difference is at quarterback, and that's Jaden Daniels, Garrett Nussmeier, as opposed to all the quarterbacks at Tyler Buckner and Ty Simpson and Jalen Milroe over there. I just think that's the difference right now. So I would have personally LSU above Alabama, but as far as Ohio State, USC, Florida State, Michigan, like
Michigan's in there.
you can organize those as much any way you want.
Yeah, nope. I'm with you. I'm okay with that 5 range, and I just don't think Florida State and LSU quite have the total roster that some of these other teams have, and that's just the reality of it. Brian Kelly said the Achilles heel of this team could be depth.
Yeah.
So I think that's what kind of keeps them for me in that 5 to 7 range, which is perfectly fine.
Mm.
Put you in contention.
Mhm.
Sort of, I guess, tied in Hokomojo. Shout out Hoko, longtime member. If LSU goes 11-1, why did it happen? If LSU goes 8-4, why did it happen? I think he's asking specifically loss wise. If you go 11-1, why did it happen? You had an amazing year and you were clicking. Loss wise, I think it's going to be tough to beat Alabama in Tuscaloosa after you beat them a year ago.
Mhm.
Bama had put together a long winning streak on LSU. For LSU to counter that in Brian Kelly's first 2 years with a shorthanded roster would in now in Tuscaloosa. And remember, last year's game came down to overtime in the final play. So I'm hard pressed to think that they're going 12-0 if they slip up. I could see it being in Tuscaloosa. 8-4 for me just speaks to you had a SEC season, Matty B, where maybe you lost to Bama, maybe you lost to A&M, maybe you slipped up against an Ole Miss or a team like
Or
that,
Florida State too.
or you lose to Florida State out the gates, which is a very talented top 10 team. So I don't see them losing anyone that's like terrible, but I could certainly see them losing games to teams that do have talent. I mean, Ole Miss has one of the best running backs in the country. Bama is going to be Bama. Florida State is a very good team out of the gates. A&M is a talented roster that by the end of the year, who's healthier? I think it's one of those things. So I don't think they're going to be either of those. I could see them finishing with a couple of losses, but we're still far ways out.
Yeah, I'll take the question in a different direction. I think you worded it well. So like I'm looking at this like as best case, and let's just say 8-4 is worst case scenario. Let's just say that. And what has to happen within the team for that to happen? Obviously, if they go 11-1 or 12-0, Jaden Daniels will have to be a Heisman contender. In my opinion, the offensive line will have to stay healthy because, as we've mentioned, the depth there is not good enough. Um, they'll have to have an elite pass rush with Braden Swinson and Ovia Gofu, and then figure out where Harold Perkins is. Harold Perkins will have to be borderline All-American to me again because he's that talented, and if he's not utilized correctly, then I struggle to see this team reaching their potential. And the back end is going to have to be really, really good as far as Denver Harris and those guys coming together and gelling, and the safeties have to stay healthy. So that's best case scenario. Worst case scenario, 8-4 is Jaden Daniels doesn't take the step forward. I'm not going to get to injuries, but if the offensive line obviously doesn't, if the depth isn't as good as we need, as LSU needs it to be, and that suffers, and then and basically the inverse of everything I said, going well. Like those are the biggest question marks. Is like Jaden Daniels, can he be a Heisman contender? Can the offensive line stay healthy? Can the pass rush be elite without BJ Ojolari and if Harold Perkins is that inside linebacker? And can the secondary come together with all these new pieces? Like those are the four biggest question marks, and those will decide the season to me.
We'll get a lot more into that as we go on in the summer months.
Yeah.
Damon Targaryen, if Kelly coaches 10 seasons, more seasons at LSU, how many titles do we win? I guess he means national championships. My answer to this one is that each coach who's been here the last 3 head coaches has won a national championship. So I'm giving him 1. I'll set the bar, like I'd put the betting lines at over 1.5. Like
That's a good line. Yeah.
you got to win 1 because everybody else has won at least 1. So, or has won 1. So I'm going to go over under 1.5. I'll go. Oh man, the college landscape's going to change so much. It's so tough to predict, but no one's coming back on this 10 years later. So I'll go over 1.5.
Very true. Very true. No one's coming back to say you were wrong. I think I like the over as well. Especially with if you just think about it this way, what was it 16 of the last 17 champs are from the South, right? So let's just say a Southern team that's not Ohio State is probably going to win the title in the next 10 years. I think LSU, Georgia, Alabama are could be, in theory, the 3 teams of the next 10 years. If this works out with Brian Kelly and, assuming Nick Saban and Alabama continue rolling. Like, let's just say I think those are the 3 teams. Even if an Oklahoma comes or a Florida State comes up at once every now and then. If we assume it's those 3 teams, I think they get at least 1. I'll say 2. I'll say over.
I like it. This sort of ties into what we're talking about, but we've talked about a good bit about it on the board. If Major Burns doesn't start every game, and they said just because he never has, what's the best lineup at safety? Excuse me. If Deuce Chestnut from Syracuse can lock down the nickel spot, would Sage and Greg Brooks work there, or would the team rather have one of them at nickel with someone like Toviano at safety? Okay, so we don't know the answer to that because we haven't seen Deuce Chestnut. I'm also quick to press pause there. I don't think we can just say, oh yeah, Deuce Chestnut's like definitely the best nickel on the team and he'll be a starter. Like you hope that, but we're far from it. I think that they like Sage at nickel, that if Major Burns went down, it would be Greg Brooks and somebody else. That's why they're recruiting safeties in the portal. My guess would be Toviano. Jordan Allen's in that mix. I could understand them moving Sage back, but I also wouldn't just pencil in Deuce Chestnut until we've actually seen him play. So I'm TBD here, but I do think that they would move Sage back if they had to. But given that they had Sage at nickel all spring, I'll go somebody else like a Toviano.
Yeah, I think the question becomes is when you are in a moment of crisis and let's just say one of the safeties goes down, let's say, or Major misses time or something, is Javian Toviano ready to step into a SEC game and, play at an SEC level as a true freshman? That's the question. So, like you said, Deuce Chestnut's the biggest question. If Deuce Chestnut can play and Deuce Chestnut is good, that takes off a lot of pressure from this defense, because if not, then you have those question marks to me of guys like Sage Ryan, Jordan Allen, Javian Toviano. Those are the guys to me that can play either the nickel or the safety. And it would just be a lot easier if you have Sage Ryan and Deuce Chestnut who can both man the nickel, both step into safety if they need to. That's the ideal situation. But I think you're right. I think Javian Toviano has worked himself and has shown this year that he can be ready to help in the SEC.
That's one that I think we'll find out in fall camp, just because we haven't seen any of Chestnut, and we need more guys to be healthy for us to make that realistic prediction. Tiger Cycling, could you realistically see Kaleb Jackson being RB1 or 2 in this offense? LSU's long overdue for Kaleb Jackson. I think that the reality here is it's going to be a running back by committee. So by season's end, could he have the second most touches? Maybe. Could he have the second best yards per carry? Maybe. I do think he'll be involved. I just am. It's too early for me to call, given he's not even on campus yet, that he'll be the number 2 back.
Yeah, I can't see him being. I mean, especially if they get a running back out of the portal. Like if
If you get a Logan Diggs, that makes it murkier. Now you're having to beat out Josh Williams and Diggs, let alone if Emory's out there or Monty Goodwin's healthier. Noah Cain's going to get his carries no matter what. So I'm still very convinced a lot of guys are going to get carries.
Yeah, exactly. I think right now, if I had to predict the running back 1 and 2, it's Josh Williams and Noah Cain. Like those are the 1-2. If Armani Goodwin's healthy, you could throw him in there. I struggle, even though I started this podcast off by saying I could see Kaleb Jackson in theory being running back, like the 3rd most productive running back. That still would take a lot breaking right for him. That would take a lot maybe of going wrong for LSU, I guess, if like Emory and Goodwin are just can't help them this year. So there's a lot of situations here. I think that's asking a lot.
Well, we will really speed around Cairo's question here.
Oh yeah.
He said, predict the team leaders in the following categories with what you think they end up with. I don't know if I'd know exactly off my head what they end up with,
What
but we
they
can at
end
least
up
do
with?
team
Oh,
leaders.
I thought we were just guessing the players.
We're just going to guess team leaders here, Cairo.
Okay.
All right. First thing that comes to your mind, we'll just go back and forth. Catches.
Malik Neighbors, and I'll give you a number. I'll give you actually, no, I'm not giving you a number.
Okay. He went over 1,000 last year. I'll go Neighbors as well. Receiving touchdowns. Neighbors only had like 2 or 3 last year.
Well, Brian Thomas didn't have a ton either, I don't think. I think he had like 4. Give me Kyron Lacey.
Oh, I like that. I'm gonna go Neighbors. I think there's no way he doesn't get those numbers back up this year. Yeah. Super duper sleeper pick there, Kamorian Pimpton. Long shot odds, but I don't hate him as a freshman tight end. Red zone threat. Rushing touchdowns. I'm going Noah Cain here.
Yeah, I'm going Noah Cain.
Oh, I thought I was going to be able to slip one by. I mean, he kind of seemed like their goal line red zone guy.
Yeah, and it seems like they trust him more this year.
They do trust him there.
I mean, all kind of out of necessity because he was the only back that was available in the spring. But hey, you take advantage of that play.
Tackles. Last year, Greg Penn owned this record.
Harold Perkins.
I'm going Omar Speights.
It's good. Yeah, you can't go wrong either way.
I was going to go Perkins, but you win it, so I'll go Speights. But usually a linebacker holds that title, so we'll both go linebacker there. Sacks. I'm going Perkins.
I hope it's Perkins.
Make it fun to watch.
I hope it's Perkins. That's a really tough one, actually. I have not thought about that at all. I mean, Oviedo put up 2 last year, and he started the whole year at Texas. That is very difficult. I guess I'm going to go Perkins.
Who would have more sacks, Mekhi Wingo or Mason Smith?
Mason. I think with Guillory gone, not Guillory, I'm sorry. With Roy gone, I think they're going to use Wingo a little bit more inside than Smith, I would assume, because Smith is just such a great pass rusher at the tackle position. I would assume Smith. So, but Smith, even then, like the upside of a tackle getting sacks is like
right.
4.
Yeah, I'm going Perkins.
Yeah, it's got to be Perkins. Like Savion Jones, as much as I love all the defensive ends with Jones, Wiggins, and those guys, or Womack, like that's I don't know. That's a good, like I said, pass rushing to me is such a big question mark of how they're going to do that this season, even though there's so much talent.
Last one, passes deflected or interceptions. Essentially, what cornerback has the best production? I'm going to go J.K. Alexander. Here's my reasoning. I'm still buying into Denver Harris being the best corner on the team. I think there'll be times where if he's in stride, they avoid him a little bit.
That's a good point.
I think J.K. could be a guy who gets Zy Alexander. I think Zy could be a guy who gets a lot thrown his way. He's an FCS guy. They'll test him. And I actually think he's up for the challenge. So I bet it's Zy Alexander.
That was going to be my guess. I was kind of hoping. I was like, all right, cool. He got JK. I got Zy.
I keep mixing up JK and Zy.
I do think at this moment, Zy Alexander is the favorite to be the second corner. And so with that being said, I like that pick a lot. And he's 6'3" with really good range, can get his hands on a lot of passes. So I think that's pretty good.
LSU Lawyer 24. If you had to choose between updated light show, better speakers, or free in-stadium Wi-Fi, which are you picking? Here's our issue. We get free Wi-Fi because we sit in the press box, and the speakers don't really matter to us. So the light show should be our answer.
The light show is the answer, but here's the other thing: is I just want them to stop having scoreboard outages.
Well, that comes with just updating everything. So
That comes
we're
with it.
going for updated boards and light show.
Yes, all the lights, all the lighting technology right there. I'm
I
just
believe
tired of
Kanye said that first. All of the lights.
all of the lights, just all of it. I'm tired of the scoreboard going out and being like, all right, well, and it looks hideous. Just as and the field actually gets significantly darker when that happens because like the band around the stadium goes out. I'm like, come on now, let's
Yes. So we're both going lights.
yeah, lights.
But I could see for fans, I would probably want Wi-Fi.
I do Wi-Fi. Yeah,
Then you can just get text too and all that, let alone
yeah. I
look
want to
up
check
stuff. I
Twitter.
know a lot of people
Yeah,
want to gamble during the games and they just don't have any reception.
yeah. I want to get on the Bengal Tiger On3 board.
That's right. I'm just trying to get on the board in the laugh thread and look at the
Exactly.
meltdowns.
Exactly.
LG15, LSU G15, future looking bright, boys. I made that part up. He just said future certainly looks bright. When you look at the stability of the quarterback room for the next 3 years, or you said especially there, do you think LSU plays for a national championship in the next 3 years? I say yes.
I think that includes this year.
Yeah, in the next 3 years.
I think if you're, I think if you were like setting like like gambling odds, I think that yes would be fair.
They will be in the top 5 odds to make the national championship, top 5 or 6 each of those years.
Like honestly, if we just look at it this way, is that in the next 3 years, and this year included, so this year, next year, and the year after that, I think honestly there could be an expectation to make 2 playoffs. Well, the thing is, it's expanding next year. Like, there's a chance they make the playoffs this year, right? It might be like 30, 40%, but there's a chance they make the playoffs this year. After that, it goes to a 12-team playoff. And from there, it's going to be really, really just interesting to watch because I have no clue how those are going to go. Like, I have no clue when it goes to a 12-team playoff, is the 1 seed still just going to, like, is Georgia just going to roll over people like they would have last year? Or is it just going to be a 1 seed sometimes loses and you're just like, oh, what happened there? Like, I don't know exactly how these are going to go, but so with that uncertainty, I make it's a little harder for me, but yeah, I'll say yes.
Let's see. Slick Deuce Man, give me one offensive and one defensive player that have to improve to all conference level for LSU to win the West. See, this is one I don't think you need to overthink. Jaden Daniels and Harold Perkins. Harold Perkins was all conference last year, maybe, so I can't pick him. Mason Smith and Jaden Daniels.
That's a good one. Sleepers. Let me look at a sleeper here. Improve to an all conference level.
If Jaden Daniels is all conference and so is Perkins or Mason Smith, then they can definitely win a lot of games.
Yes. If those are the dudes. I'll go. Let's see, what's one off the wall I can do here? I was gonna go Dellinger or Campbell. Like if one of those two is like an all conference level offensive lineman, that just makes life a lot easier. I think they were good last year, but them being all conference would be a significant step forward for both of them, and I think that would be huge for the offensive
I
line.
just feel like if at the end of the day, a lot of you, I mean, Malik Neighbors go over 1,000 yards and you still play in the Peach Bowl or the Citrus Bowl.
You're right.
Like
You're right.
if
Those are
your
the most
quarterback's all
important.
conference in the SEC, you've had a great year.
You're right. For sure.
I think that's my gimme.
And the other one for me is I'll go Denver Harris down here.
Miles Zeitz asked if you could land the UL or the Rhode Island safety transfers, which are you picking? Okay, I haven't dug into either of these guys really. I mean, I saw their PFF scores, I saw their production. I'm going the Rhode Island kid because he's like, I think he's just bigger. He's like 6'2", 215 or something.
That's the only thing I know.
So,
I haven't watched. I haven't crunched the film, so I'll roll with you.
Not enough intel for me there, but I'll just off the cuff choose the Rhode Island kid. Irish Tiger 18, which incoming freshman having a Harold Perkins type first year gives us the best chance to win the SEC? I think Toviano could plug a lot of holes for him that would give him a chance because we've worried about the safety position.
Okay, but this is asking if you had to pick one of these guys to be like like on Madden, if you just could make one of these guys an All-American, which one would have the biggest impact? I'm gonna go. I mean, what if we just stuck with a pass rusher? What if we just went Jackson Howard or
I mean,
Deshaun
yeah.
Womack? Sorry, Deshaun Womack.
Oh, that's a good God. I keep
That's
forgetting
probably
about
the
Deshaun Womack, a
that's probably the
5-star. Yeah,
one.
that's a great answer. Deshaun Womack.
That's the one.
Sleepy pick for the sack leader too there that I forgot about him coming off the edge
Yeah,
as a
like if
jack
Deshaun
just because he
Womack
wasn't
comes
there in the
out,
spring.
yeah, if he comes out and he's like an elite all SEC pass rusher, that just solves so many
Ooh,
questions.
defense wins championships, Matty
Whew.
B. I love the pick. All right, we're in agreement there.
There you go.
Capital City, who's more likely to establish themselves as wide receiver 3? Aaron Anderson, Hilton, or Lacey? I think Lacey runaway right now.
Yeah, not close. Not close to me. And it's hard because like Hilton, I think they really tried in the spring game to get him those vertical shots, and he's
Right.
clearly fast. But also, I think LaTerrence Welsh was on him. Like I
I
think
think
LaTerrence
that
Welsh did a fine job on Hilton. I think it's Lacey. We haven't seen enough Anderson, but I think Anderson's more of like a gadget type back or
yeah.
receiver.
No, and I think all those guys will play. So we're not just because you're wide receiver 3 and you start doesn't mean it. They
Right.
rotate. Hell, wide receiver 1 comes off the field in a lot of games because of how much they rotate. So everyone will have a chance, but Lacey is the odds-on favorite.
Mm-hmm.
Townsend, what's the best starting 5 offensive line after game 3 or 4 when Lunsford and Hurd get their feet under him? This is hypothetical, obviously. I'm just going to stick with what's out of the gate. The 5 guys who have already started football games, whether that is Charles Turner or Martinez at center, both have started games before. And then all the other returners. You've got Emory Jones and Will Campbell back. You've got Dellinger and Miles Frazier back. So I'd love to see Lunsford and Hurd come along, and especially Hurd break into the action and gives you even more depth and all that. But I'm going to have to say out of the gates that those guys are going to be the guys unless Lunsford comes in here and is just all world and beats one of them out.
Yeah, I mean, people after last year, people are very thirsty for Jalen Hurd to get on the field because they're like, "Hey, we just saw 2 freshmen do that."
There's no doubt, but that was out of real need. Like
Very
Cam Wire started that game and Jared Verse worked him and he never got in another game. And then they put Emory Jones out there. So like, I don't think they have that need this time around, that
You're right.
dire need.
You're right. I don't think they need to rush Hurd. My
Um,
question is, I do feel like it is a little bit of an oversight to a lot of people, including myself, when we just pencil Emory Jones there at right tackle. Is Emory Jones wasn't great last year. Like he very much was a freshman that was
and,
recruited as a guard that played tackle, and he had his moments where it was like, okay, he's not quite ready. I think he's gonna be a lot better this year, Emory Jones. So I'm not saying I'm worried about him. I'm just saying we need to see the progression. We need to see that step up because now you do have Jalen Hurd there, and a lot of people want Emory Jones to move to guard, which was his natural position out of high school. And if that happens, who are you bumping out? Frazier, Dellinger. I think both are really, really good. So it's just it. Jones is the only piece that I could see potentially moving, either into guard or out. Like that's the only one to me because like you said, I think everybody else is pretty much set. Besides the center position, where I don't really know who's going to start there, but we'll figure that out.
right. All right, we still got a handful left, so we got to speed around this. We're slowing down on our promise to the listeners.
How much more we got?
J87. If game 1 this fall, when LSU goes 12 personnel for the first time, who's the other tight end besides Mason Taylor? I think it's got to be Mac Markway. I mean, he's your blocker.
Yeah. When they go 12 personnel, the past 2 years, the past 2 years, but last year when they went 12 personnel, granted they didn't have many options, but it wasn't for the tight ends to be, they weren't looking at both tight ends as receivers. Let's just say,
Right.
and maybe that's because they didn't have the personnel. But if they go 12 personnel this year, Pimpton and McGohan to me are not ready to block as inline tight ends.
Well, and he's saying game 1, so.
Oh, and we're saying game 1, so yeah, Mac Markway, stay healthy, just go block some people. Mason Taylor will catch the passes, and yeah.
Hunter Fournette, who decleats someone in the Florida State game first? Perk, Spates, Mason. Feel free to add any name. I just threw out a few. Now, this is obviously for Mason a big game because he got injured in this game and it was celebrating. So I think he's going to watch himself in this game. I'm not sure how much he's going to be going above and beyond to be jumping around and decleating folks. I think the answer here is Harold Perkins because he does decleat folks, but also he was trying to decleat folks last year in this game and he was only playing on special teams. So now that he has a chance to actually play, he's the answer.
Yeah, I was about to say we saw him last year, how fired up he was and getting flags, and we've seen him we saw him a few times throughout the year get fired up. I think he's just gonna come out with his hair on fire. I think Harold Perkins is the answer. If he gets especially an inside linebacker where if you shoot the right gap and or if you're on the running back and the running back catches a flat and you're in a 1-on-1 there, like there's opportunities to really, get a hit in. So I think that would be the pick.
Nola Gumbo 41, which freshman who did not enroll early has the best chance to play this season? I think there's a lot of options here. We've talked about a lot of them. I think that the choices, Maddie B, are between Kaleb Jackson, Kamorian Pimpton, and Zaylon Hurd.
I'm trying to figure out.
And I think the one easiest spot to get yourself into is running back. So I'm going to go Kaleb Jackson.
I did a story on this. And I don't remember what the premise of this story was. But it was on the non-early enrollees. Oh, it was on the ones LSU needs the most. I had Kaleb Jackson at 2. I think Kylan Jackson actually gets a pretty good shot at it, which
that
would
could
be
be one.
Because you get Javian Toviano back there. We know that. But Kylan Jackson might be physically ready to step in. Now, the questions are everything else. Can you adjust to an SEC defense? Can you learn the SEC defense? That's asking a lot. But I'm going to go Kylan Jackson because what was the exact question? Who's
going to break through, see some playing
time. Yeah, I'll go Kylan Jackson. I think Kylan
I like
Jackson.
that.
I mean, but Caleb Stewart is probably the right pick.
We're both going Baton Rouge kids named Jackson. So nice pick.
There you go.
Misled alarm. We still got a few more here. Do y'all have faith in the secondary to not be a liability? How tough do y'all think the schedule is this year? I think the schedule is easier than it was a year ago, but the schedule is always going to be tough. It's the SEC West, and you got to play Florida. Faith in the secondary is the same issue I had at this time a year ago. I don't know because all of the corners are transfers except LaTerrence Welsh, and we haven't seen him play. And we're not going to have to repeat the safety thing. They only got 2 of them that they trust. So
yeah.
I can have faith, but until I actually see it happen, I don't know.
Yeah, it's to me it's the same situation as last year, but they have more depth at least this year. They at least brought in 3 or they brought in 4, and then you have LaTerrence Welsh, who looked like a good player. So I think they have more options this year. Last year at this time, we were like, all right, it's Bernard Converse and Gardner, who I liked a lot. But then after that, it was like Colby Richardson, and that was like the third corner. At least this year, your third corner right now looks like it's like J.K. Johnson or LaTerrence Welsh, and I think that's a lot better. So will it work? I don't know, but they at least have depth and options to throw out there at the cornerback position there. And then as far as the schedule goes, I do think if nothing else, trading out Tennessee from Missouri makes this schedule easier. However, Florida State is a lot better, and that will be an interesting aspect there. And then I guess instead of playing UNLV, you trade in the UNLV game for Army, which I think is more challenging. But at the end of the day, I think it is easier overall.
LGZ, what do you think the final SEC standings for East and West are at the end of the season? All right, I'm not about to do all 14 of these, so I'll just give you my top 2. I think that either LSU or Bama is going to win the West. I think Georgia or Tennessee will win the East. I think if there were a sleeper pick in there, I almost like South Carolina to end up being better than maybe some of these West teams like Ole Miss, Arkansas. A&M is obviously one every year people say to watch out for, but they still haven't put it together in any large scale. So those are my top 2.
It's interesting to me here, not to go off the beaten path, but it's interesting for me because A&M usually, like you said, it's usually like, all right, A&M's going to do something. Everybody's like, A&M's going to do something. 8.5 wins, 9 wins, 10, something like that. This year, Vegas has them at 7.5.
They do.
So people are kind of like, all right, we're tired of this. We're tired of losing money betting on A&M. We're like, we're just gonna set this thing at 7.5, and yeah, let it ride.
But yes, the odds-on favorite are Bama, LSU to win the West, and then Georgia, Tennessee to win the East.
Like, yeah, who should come in third in the West? In theory, probably is
Should be A&M.
A&M, Arkansas, Ole Miss. That's a tough question.
A&M.
Okay, I'll go. Yeah, I don't know. Arkansas. I mean, everybody loves KJ Jefferson right now, which is cool, but I don't know.
No.
I think he's good, but not great. That'll be interesting. East, same thing, like you said, Georgia, Tennessee. I think Tennessee's gonna be real good again, even with without Hooker.
Yeah, without Hyatt too, but they've got a good offense that they can kind of keep churning along with. So yeah, they recruited well. I like those teams. We'll dive deeper into that when we get towards SEC media days and get a look at all the teams and where they're at after the portal settles. But those would be our top picks. Two more. Iowa City. Now they built the foundation. What have you noticed that has changed or improved from Kelly's first offseason to his second? I think that the big thing is just not having to build from the ground up anymore. Like so much of it is in place to where he even said, look, I'm not having to go out there and teach guys drills. Now, you do welcome in a new crop of freshmen, transfers, all that, but he said it's still a lot easier than when they were having to do that to an entire roster. So I think continuity at OC and DC, game, plans, not game plans, but I guess philosophies, all that being in place is, and Kelly just knowing the team, going through SEC 1 year, I just think familiarity is what is the difference between now and then.
Yeah, I think that's really it. I watched his interview with Jock, Brian Kelly's interview with Jock. Very well done. I loved it because Jock was just getting questions in and like a speed round almost. It was great. And so yeah, and that's basically what Brian Kelly said. It was like, I mean, SEC, he didn't know what it was like to go through the SEC, which we knew that was going to be the case. Now he's familiar with that, and there's just he's seen a lot of these players now for a full year, for a full off season, for a full spring now. It's just a completely different game here. So that's what makes me excited about watching this LSU team this year, is that especially in game one, is that we actually will kind of know what we're watching, and Brian Kelly will know what he has on his hands, and it's just this coaching staff is almost all the same. A lot of reasons for optimism going into year two.
Last one, Nola fan. What's a realistic expectation for Will Campbell this year? He had a great freshman season. Obviously, he started at left tackle. Does he become the elite of the elite as a sophomore? I think he takes a big step forward. I think elite of the elite happens in year 3 when he's being really hyped up as a big draft pick and one of the more experienced players in the conference. But I think the goal for Will Campbell this year is to be the best offensive lineman LSU has.
Yeah, I agree. I think I'm not expecting him to be an All-American this year. I think, like I said earlier, there's a shot he could be an All-SEC caliber player, like second team All-SEC, which would be fantastic. I think last year he surprised a lot of defensive players that he went up against with how polished he was. Now it's about progressing. Same thing with Emory Jones. It's about progressing. Same thing even with Garrett Dellinger. Because even though this is year 3 for him, it's kind of the first 2 years were kind of shortened, or he didn't get a ton of playing time. It's about him progressing. So there's a lot of ways this season could go on the offensive line, but I feel the best about Will Campbell being really good. And we're done. There you go.
All right.
Thank you all for your questions. 38 minutes, 40 minutes. That was good. We enjoyed
Kind
doing
of
those.
speed round. We'll get better.
That's all right. I was thinking maybe 30 minutes, but hey, 40 minutes, same thing. Give people aren't doing nothing else. They're just turning this thing on and doing laundry or something. That's all they're doing.
There we go.
But yeah, we appreciate the questions. We enjoy doing these over the off season. We'll continue to do them every other week, every 2-3 weeks, something like that to get y'all going. It has been a very, very busy week on the Bengal Tiger On3 with recruiting of everything, football, transfer portal, basketball, everything. The Bengal Tiger has been all over it. So we appreciate the support over there. If you are subscribed, if you are not, you can get 6 months for $30 right now. And that basically carries you through the football season. I mean, November 11th at this point is 6 months away, or December 11th. No, November 11th. 5/11 to 11/11. Yeah. So that basically carries you through the football season at that point, and we think it's very, very. The site's going very well. It's growing. It's doing.
Yeah, shout
Really
out to
well.
everyone who signed up. We've got a bunch of growth.
Yes. So yeah, we appreciate that. The YouTube channel, subscribe, like, comment, share, all that stuff. If you're listening on the audio side, leave us a 5-star rating and review. Apple, Spotify, we appreciate all of it. Again, follow us on Twitter, do all that good stuff. For Shay Dixon, I'm Matthew Bruni. We will talk to y'all later.